Right. This is a video about area. Remember our chant? Perimeter plus it's the frame of the window. Area is the squares or length times width. So today we're going to be talking about the squares. Well, sometimes you have these squares and they just have the word unit or unit. Well, the reason why they have that is because let's say you don't have a tape measure or a ruler or whatever to measure the length of the sides. So someone says, don't worry about it. We don't need the units. We don't need to know if it's inches or feet or whatever. We'll just leave that blank. So when you don't know specifically what you're measuring in, if you're measuring in inches or feet or meters or whatever, you can just leave it blank and just call it units. Okay? So this is a unit of length and a unit of width. And with those, if you connect them, you get a square. So this right here is called a square unit. Okay? And you can write that as square unit or units with this 2 right here, which means squared. Okay? Now, sometimes they show you a square and there's specific units. Like they came and they got their tape measure or their ruler and they measured it and they said, oh my gosh, I think that length is 1, so let's define that length as 1 inch and let's define this length as 1 inch. And then they're like, oh, since all the sides are an inch, let's call this an inch. Okay, the length is an inch, the width is an inch. So because of it, this square is measured in square inches. And you can represent that with the abbreviation IN. And remember, the 2 just means squared. Okay, so this is specific, like what the actual measurements are. And this, you don't really know what the measurements are, you just know you will be counting square units. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, let's take this. Peter thinks the area of the shape below is 18 square units. So this is the shape, so I'll put it here. Okay. Is he correct? Now, when you look at this picture, a lot of people just count all the squares, but sometimes it'll be in black and white, and what they'll really want you to do is they just want you to notice that the white space is just a hole, okay? So if it's not colored, if it's shaded, and you notice that one part is not shaded, then you know that it is just representing a hole. Okay, my pens are running out. All right, so remember, perimeter plus is the frame of the window, area is the squares, or length times width. So we're not doing length times width, we're doing the squares, so I'm just going to count the squares. So that's pretty easy to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So Peter thought there were 18 squares. It looks like there's only 17 squares. So is he correct? No, he's not correct because there is 17 square. Remember, we have to use the word square because we are measuring squares, units, and that's how we write it. If you don't write the units, they might just think it's 17 inches, and 17 inches would be a lot different than 17 squares. Like it would be longer than this. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Next question would be, the diagram below shows unit squares overlaid on a figure. What is the area of the figure? First off, I think this word overlaid can be really confusing. What it means is the diagram below shows unit squares overlaid. So I'm going to overlay these unit squares on the figure. And that's kind of what it means. Sometimes they'll just draw it and they'll just tell you they were already there. Okay? So then it says, what is the area of the figure? We know perimeter plus is the frame of the window. Area is the squares or length times width. We know we have squares, so we're going to find the area using squares. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, we know there are 15 squares, right? But square what? Square feet, square inches. Looks like they didn't label it, so they must just be square units. Remember, we just write units if they didn't tell us what they were. Okay, so our answer is probably more correct. All right, I hope that helps with understanding square units. Thanks, bye.